Good evening and welcome to the winter finale of Duck TV News. I'm Kai Webster.
And I'm Kate Houston. Here are tonight's top stories. The University of Oregon has recently increased the cost of tuition by $945 per student. Brianna Frieden reports on the causes and effects of this increase.
Following an 11-1 vote by the Board of Trustees, the University of Oregon will raise tuition by 10.6% for in-state students, which amounts to a 3% increase for out-of-state students in the coming school year. This most recent tuition increase has left students at the university struggling to find ways to make ends meet and complete their degrees in the face of the mounting tuition burden.
Ever since I heard about the tuition increase while studying, I'll just, kind of get into like a panic attack and just like, oh man, I might not even be able to go to school here next year because of it.
The passage of Oregon Ballot Measure Number 5 in 1990, which capped property taxes dedicated to school funding, as well as a steady trend of disinvestment in higher education, have resulted in budget shortfalls that have become increasingly difficult for the state and the university to overcome.
In turn, the university is left with no choice but to increase tuition to fund the $25 million deficit. $11 million of those dollars will go towards faculty and staff salaries, and $7.1 million will go towards retirement costs. While many students have voiced their frustration with the university administration, UO spokesman Tobin Klinger says that this increase was a direct result from lack of funding from the state and was largely unavoidable for the administration.
That we need to be investing in higher education because it's unfair to shift the burden of educational costs onto students and families, but it's a necessity if we're going to continue to deliver the type of education that those students and parents are looking for us to provide.
Vicki Gim, Senate Seat 1 for the ASUO, stresses the importance of lobbying for state funding at the state capitol in Salem.
I encourage a lot of students to take the time to lobby and go to Salem, especially during this season, because politicians really appreciate student testimonies.
If the state budget for education does not increase, then tuition for higher education will continue to rise.
Reporting for Duck TV News, I'm Brianna Frieden.
Thanks, Brianna. Contact any ASUO representative to get involved in lobbying for higher education funding.
The Oregon Senate has introduced a bill which would make it illegal for employers to require that employees do not use marijuana. The bill was brought to the Senate at the request of the Interim Committee on Marijuana Impact. It currently sits in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and no dates have been set for upcoming hearings or votes.
In other government news, the Eugene City Council voted 6-2 on Wednesday to ban dogs in downtown Eugene. The ban will start in April and expire in November when the council can re-vote. Owners of non-service and non-resident dogs will be fined $250 for violating the ban. This ban was modeled after an existing dog ban near the University of Oregon.
That's not the only change coming to Eugene. The University of Oregon and downtown Eugene are adding 2 new bike lanes to 13th Avenue in the upcoming year. Nikki Lucius has the story.
Behind me is one of the busiest streets in Eugene that is not only home to establishments such as Level Up Arcade, but was once the scene of a fatal car and bike accident that took the life of University of Oregon student David Miner. While it has almost been 9 years since Miner's death, little has been done to enforce bike safety, but one student organization is about to change that.
Students from LiveMove, the University of Oregon's Transportation and Livable Student Group, created a proposal for an additional bike lane when construction of 13th and Olive was underway. Mark Schlossberg is a supervisor for LiveMove and is overlooking the project.
So these students asked the city, hey, how are students going to get back to where they live? And the city didn't have much of a response. So then they went to the university administration and said, hey, these 1,200 students are coming to campus. There's not a safe way for them to get home. Are they going to do that? And the university didn't have an answer.
LiveMove president Kevin Gilbride feels as though this project will have a bigger impact on the city than just the bike lanes.
When we do something like the 13th Street redesign, it shows that we have the ability to impact our community in a important and beautiful way.
The plan also caught the attention of John and Susan Miner, who pledged $50,000 back in 2012 towards the project. The bike lane will be named after their son David Miner and will be a major step in supporting bike safety.
That I think is going to completely revolutionize the amount of biking that happens here.
For Duck TV News, I'm Nikki Lucius.
Thanks, Nikki. Construction for the new bike lane is set to begin in the summer of 2018.
Anti-Semitic crimes and threats have increased in communities across the nation, including here at the University of Oregon. On campus, the Alpha Epsilon Pi fraternity has experienced anti-Semitic harassment such as finding swastikas drawn on their mailbox and being threatened at gunpoint. Member of the Oregon Hillel and Jewish community, Sean Meadow, has experienced this harassment firsthand.
I've been at scenes that have occurred just minutes before or hours before. My temple back home has high security on high holidays, and it's not good there.
The Oregon Hillel, located on 11th and Hilliard, hosts events open to Jewish community members to celebrate their faith and are available to offer support to victims of hate crimes. President Schill is taking steps to create a more inclusive environment to end anti-Semitism by meeting with fraternities and the Jewish community members. And now we toss it to Armin and Lena for this week's sports broadcast.
Thanks, Kate. Hello and welcome to the season finale of Duck TV Sports. I'm Armin R. Rodian.
And I'm Lena Bond. We have a lot of content for you guys, so let's get straight to the madness.
The Oregon men's basketball team is off and dancing in Sacramento with the champions of the MAC, the Iona Gales. The Ducks were given a 3 seed in the Midwest region by the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee on Sunday. In the Ducks bracket is Purdue, the 4 seed, 2nd seed Louisville, and top-ranked Kansas. Looming in the second round is a possible matchup with Creighton, where Ducks coach Dana Altman coached for 16 years before coming to Eugene. In his last game, Oregon lost to Arizona in the Pac-12 championship 83-80, but falling to the Wildcats wasn't Oregon's biggest loss of the weekend. Senior forward Chris Boucher's season is over following a torn ACL he suffered in the Ducks' semifinal victory over California. Altman will need to find a way to replace Boucher's production as the team kicks off its tournament on Friday at 11 a.m. Now we welcome in basketball analyst Emily Poole. Emily, the Ducks were given a 3 seed by the selection committee in the Midwest region. Did they deserve a 3 seed, or should they have been higher or lower?
Thanks, Armin. The Ducks are well deserving of the 3rd seed. I don't think they deserve any better. They have made a lot of mistakes, and that leads to points scored against them, so consequences. But other than that, their performance has been very strong. They've been a very dominant team, so they are well deserving of number 3.
With their dominant performance throughout the season, how far can this team realistically go in the tournament?
I think they're going to start off strong. They're going to be really excited. The problem is they're going to have to maintain that throughout the entire tournament. I wouldn't be surprised if mid-tournament they start easing up a little bit, and their performance won't be as disciplined, and that's going to make mistakes, and that's going to what's going to count towards the end of the tournament with consequences.
One of the biggest storylines right now is with the Ducks is Chris Boucher's season-ending torn ACL that he suffered against California. How does Boucher's injury change the Ducks' play in the tournament?
Chris Boucher is a huge defender, and he's one of the best shot blockers in the nation, so it's going to be really hard. The Ducks are going to have to rearrange their defense to comply with, Boucher's absence, but other than that, I feel like they're just going to have to all step up as a team and, carry on through the tournament.
When a player of Boucher's caliber goes down this late in the year, teams always need a player to step into an expanded role. Who needs to step up in Boucher's absence?
Brooks and Bell need to step up. They have the potential to carry the team. I do think it's a very good opportunity for Cavell Big B Williams. He's been second to Boucher, but he's the next man up, and he's really good at protecting the inside, and his size will really count.
All right, Emily, last question before we go. Friday against Iona, who you got, and who do you have cutting down the nets in Phoenix on April 3rd?
Against Iona, I had the Ducks. And for the entire tournament, I have Arizona. Their performance has been very strong. They've been a dominant team, and they have Markkanen, and he's literally a huge influence for the Arizona team.
All right, Emily Poole, everyone. Thanks, Emily.
The men of Oregon aren't the only team on this campus who are going to be dancing this year. For the first time since 2000, both the Oregon men's and women's basketball teams have qualified for the NCAA tournament. Oregon, who finished 6th overall in a tough Pac-12 conference, found itself squarely on the bubble after losing 3 of the last 4 regular season games. However, thanks to a 70-69 upset win against the 11th-ranked Huskies in the Pac-12 tournament, the Ducks are awarded a 10 seed in the Bridgeport region, which features number 1 overall seed UConn. Oregon will play number 7 seed Temple on Saturday in Durham, North Carolina.
While men's and women's basketball have been making moves in the postseason, Oregon baseball has quietly swung its way to 6 straight wins. The Ducks most recently bucked the Santa Clara Broncos, allowing only 3 runs throughout the 4-game sweep, 2 of which were shutouts. The Ducks head down to Berkeley to start a Pac-12 play against California this weekend. The Golden Bears are on a bit of a win streak as well, winning 4 straight games. First pitch on Friday is at 7 p.m.
In Sunday's conclusion of the Oregon Invitational, Oregon's softball team tallied another run-rule win in the 12-1 victory over Hofstra at Jane Sanders Stadium. The Ducks' bats were absolutely on fire against the Pride, racking up 11 runs in the 3rd and 4th inning alone. The number 4 ranked Ducks are now 24-0 on the season and remain the only undefeated team in the NCAA with the Pac-12 play remaining. The Ducks will now face Cal on Friday at 6 p.m. to kick off a 3-game Pac-12 series.
Oregon lacrosse will be in Colorado this weekend for stop number 4 and 5 of their 8-game road trip. On Friday, they will take on Vermont, followed by Colorado on Sunday. Junior attacker Camby Sukar is 1 assist away from the career century mark and will likely hit 100 this weekend.
After coming off a historic win against the reigning national champions, the Baylor Bears, the number 2 Oregon acrobatics and tumbling team now look to take on the unranked Fighting Falcons on Fairmont State at home March 17th.
It seems that more than just a few teams are hot this time of year. Oregon men's tennis will be in San Diego to face the San Diego Toreros for the SP Invite from Thursday through Saturday. The Ducks have served up a blistering 11-2 start to the season, including Thomas Laurent breaking the program record for consecutive singles wins.
Get your brooms out, ladies and gentlemen, because Oregon's women's tennis team completed a Pac-12 opening sweep over the Washington schools with a 4-0 win over Washington State on Sunday at Holling-Bearing Fieldhouse. With the win, the Ducks moved to 8-5 overall as they look to play the Bruins at home March 17th. Now we toss it to Kylie Gelfand, who's going to talk about the 3 of the most decorated track athletes in Oregon history.
Thanks, Lena. With Edward Cheserek earning his 17th career national championship, today's episode of Triple Threat, we will be covering the best track and field athletes in Oregon program history. Let's start with Edward Cheserek, who became the most decorated NCAA athlete in history, with his 16th and 17th titles last weekend. He helped lead the Oregon team to a 3rd place finish with his NCAA record of 28 points on the weekend, and in doing so, set a new indoor collegiate record for the mile at the Last Chance meet with a time of 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Cheserek was named the Pac-12 Athlete of the Year and is the only athlete who has won this award 4 years in a row. Moving on, Ashton Eaton, the 2-time Olympic gold medalist in the decathlon, has often been called the greatest athlete in the world. Although recently retired, Eaton is still the world record holder in both decathlon and indoor heptathlon events. While at Oregon, he won 3 NCAA decathlon titles and won the Bowerman Award, given annually to the best male and female track athlete in the nation. We couldn't talk about Oregon track without mentioning Steve Prefontaine, the son of Tracktown USA. Prefontaine once held the American record in 7 different distance track events, from the 2,000 meters to the 10,000 meters. In Prefontaine's 4 years at Oregon, he never lost a collegiate race at any distance over 3 miles. Prefontaine is remembered to this day in Eugene. A rock in his honor sits in the place of his fatal car crash and is often visited by runners and track fans everywhere. The rock made Eugene a mecca of running, and Prefontaine paved the way for all Oregon runners to come. We just crossed the finish line of today's Triple Threat. Lena, Armin, back to you at the desk. Gotta run.
Thanks, Kylie. So, Armin, who do you have going to the big game?
Good question, Elena. I have Kentucky and Arizona, with Arizona cutting down those nets. Who do you have?
I got UNC and Duke, with Coach K and his Dukies coming up on top.
Well, let's see if your bracket can be a little less busted than mine was last season.
Oh, trust me, it won't be.
Well, best of luck, Lena.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all things Oregon athletics. Now back to Kyle for news.
Thanks, Lena. The Eugene Public Library joined forces with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, a national initiative founded by the country musician to help toddlers become passionate about reading. The foundation mails free books to preschoolers' homes around Lane County once a month. Studies by the United Way of Lane County have shown that children in the county have not met early literacy benchmarks. The Imagination Library hopes to solve this. The program's entire cost is covered by the Eugene Public Library. The cost is about $25 per year per child. They hope to provide for many children for years to come.
The university held the Peace Jam Northwest Youth Conference last weekend. The event was put on by the Peace Jam Northwest organization and its Northwest Regional Coordinator, Darren Riley.
Peace Jam is an international organization. It's run by 13 Nobel Peace Prize winners. Peace Jam Northwest is located here. Basically, we coordinate educational programs throughout the region.
The event was hosted by former Nobel Peace Prize winner and Costa Rican President Oscar Arias. The program helps students ages 14 through 19 and focuses on financial inclusion. The weekend included interactive workshops and multiple speeches by Nobel laureate Arias. The purpose of these events is to empower youth through workshops, service projects, and family groups led by university members. Thank you for joining us tonight on Duck TV News. I'm Kate Houston.
And I'm Kyle Webster. Be sure to watch our spring premiere on April 26th. Have a great night.